What's up, you guys? Welcome to Critique the Critics, the show where we take a look at one critic's review on a movie, pick it apart line by line, make fun of it, and just generally give it crap. Today we are looking at Avengers Endgame. Yes, there are people who didn't like this, and this review is going to be very interesting. I'm very curious what she's going to have to say about why this is bad. But before we get started, if it's your first time here, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the little bell right next to it. Also, make sure you check out the link in the description for our Twitch channel, because we do record these videos live and it is a lot of fun and you can be a part of the jokes. Not like we make fun of you, like you help us with the jokes. Whatever. Alright, let's take a look at this review of Avengers Endgame. I'm ready for the fanboy hate. Wow. I am ready for this review. That is the best way to start. I would also like to add that there's fangirls out there too. I don't know why you had to be gender specific. They can also hate you. Avengers Infinity War was on my top 10 best films of the year list. This year? That's late. It pains me to say it, but Avengers Endgame left me so disappointed in its what I had hoped would be an exciting conclusion. This sequel is a complete letdown. I can't wait to find out why. Because it ended like the title said. From the beginning, everything about this movie feels off in terms of tone and attitude. There's an inordinate amount of moping and glassy-eyed staring into the camera. Wait, what? An inordinate amount of moping? You know what happened in the first one, right? It was your top 10 best film of 2019, right? So you know what happened. I feel like some glassy-eyed moping's in order. We've been doing it just waiting for this movie to come out. It's great that the filmmakers choose to focus more on the human connections between the group, but the emotional character development turns this into a thinking person's Avengers that stresses brains over bronze. This might be the first review where the complaint is there's too much plot in a superhero movie. Oh boy, I can't wait for this. I miss the days of Fantastic Four and Ben Affleck's Daredevil, when we didn't need this pesky character development and plot and humanizing. Just give me a stupid dumbass playground fight. Smart superhero movies are great, but I doubt this is the film's target audience. Yup, because we're all fucking idiots. All 300 billion of us that are gonna see this movie. All stupid. Adult themes like remorse, heartbreak, crushing guilt, and making the tough decisions that can ruin your own family while saving others is something that may punch a 40-year-old man in the gut, but will leave his 8-year-old slumped in his seat with his hands on his chin. Wrong. Also, being in that position implies that the kid was interested in what they were watching. But you have to be honest, comic books have been telling these kinds of stories since comic books came out. This isn't new. Talking about human emotions and things like death, it's not new. Also, just so you know, that 40-year-old man who's gonna show up to that movie has the money to pay for the movie, so that's probably good. And he's gonna drag that 8-year-old with him. This sounds wrong. I feel most of this movie will go over the heads of most kids. I feel like it'll go over the head of most adults. There's a lot of confusing stuff in this movie. I feel like it might need another watch to really understand. Oh wait, they'll sell more tickets? Oh. Hell, I'll wager a bet that half the adults in the audience will be confused by the inconsistencies of the varied time travel explanations. That's what I just said. And so they're just gonna see it again and again and make a lot of money. And everyone's gonna love it. It's kind of how it goes. If it's complex but it's fun, you go back to it. See, that's the difference between this movie and the game Cricket. Cricket is complex and not fun. No one wants to learn how to understand that shit. Sorry if anyone likes cricket, I just don't understand it. I saw a field diagram explaining how to play cricket and I thought someone was gonna take over the world. They're the two most dreaded words in a blockbuster movie that's written itself into a corner: time travel. Can't figure out a solid ending? Go the cheap, let's go back and rewrite history by transporting ourselves through the space-time continuum route. That's not lazy writing. That's not can't figure out an ending. He literally has a thing that makes it so he can time travel in his glove. There's a stone called a time stone. It's not a cop-out. It's utilizing a thing in the universe they've created. It would be a cop-out if, like, Rose went back in time to save Jack in Titanic 2. Actually, we should make that. The band is playing again. It's so similar to the Star Trek reboot and Back to the Future that it feels like a cop-out rather than a well-thought-out solution to the Thanos puzzle. They literally explain why it's different than the references you just made, as well as like 15 other references. The snapped Avengers play very little role in the narrative. They were snapped, that's why. The only way they could have played a role as dust is if like the universal monster the Mummy showed up and made like a dust storm. And the remaining heroes aren't robust nor charismatic enough to carry the movie. Hawkeye and Black Widow, I'm looking at you. Really? People who lost everything, not very charismatic? Really? They just weren't super joyous. There's also zero sense of real danger, something that the film's predecessor had going for it. But at least the menacing Thanos firmly clinches his throne as one of the very best screen villains in comic book history here. Wait, so there was no threat, but then he like clinched being a threat really well? But he wasn't? That's really confusing. But what's truly unforgivable is the decision to make an iconic character, Thor, an absolute laughingstock and the butt of many jokes. His initial introduction in the film is mildly amusing, but increasingly feels more and more distasteful as it drags on. Distasteful? I feel like the only reason to be mad about the humor that they did with Thor is that we didn't get that sweet, buttery ass of a hottie in this one. Instead of, we just got a sweet, a little too much buttery ass. But now we can definitely call you out for not being into dad bods. I like the new Chris Pratt. Most of the new Marvel cliches make an unwelcome appearance, including the continuous, borderline offensive pandering to women that kicked off in a spectacularly over-the-top fashion in Captain Marvel. Pandering? It's really funny that if you have like anything where there's like 4 superheroes who are guys, everyone's like, yeah, superheroes. Then if you have 4 superheroes on the same screen that are girls, you're like, pandering. Get your feminist propaganda out of my face. No, just humans, just human people. They're not even real humans. Calm down. There's no need to include disingenuous all-female shots of your complete roster of lady characters when they are fighting among men. Sure there is. It was awesome. That's the reason. It made it so that a bunch of people sitting in the theater went, that was awesome. That's it. They do it all the time in comic books. It's a comic book on a screen. All of this makes sense. It would be weirder if instead of cutting to that, they just cut to some dude pumping gas, which is also something Marvel would do, but that dude would be Stan Lee, and he had a different cameo. It's time to buck up, really show them as equals, and refrain from treating them as a separate movie still that'll look good on a poster touting the studio's diversity initiatives come award season. It was one shot. It was one shot. There's also a part where the Wasp is next to Ant-Man. Not complaining about that. Can't have guys and girls together, right? Like, also 2 of the strongest Avengers are women. So that's cool. Let's put them on screen together. No, don't do that. That's pandering. You feminist piece of shit. I'm just offended Scarlett's called a witch.
Instead of the red non-binary magic person.
Much has been said about the 3-hour plus runtime, and yes, this movie feels long. Unless you liked it, and then it didn't. I feel like I don't have to say anything else about that. Let's move on. There's too much story exposition at the start, which kicks everything off with a sentimental whimper rather than the bang many will be expecting. I mean, we were just kind of expecting a continuation of the story from the other one. You know, the one that's the top 10 movie of the year from 2019. You heard it here, folks. The film follows a conventional storytelling timeline. It does? Okay. And the couple of obvious direct ripoffs of Star Wars The Force Awakens did nothing but remind me of the far better movie. It was really weird to have Ben show up and kill some of the Avengers. It's as if J.J. Abrams set the new standard of what's supposed to happen in a big budget studio movie, ensuring that any surprises no longer feel that way. That's all on you. I don't think anyone feels that way at all. I think everyone's still just chasing Spielberg. Unless you're Netflix, and then you're fighting him. Or beating him. Look it up. What doesn't work outweighs the good, making Endgame and its anticlimactic ending a real bummer. While this film is disappointing, I need to be fair. It's something I feel is a direct result of Infinity War and its outstanding setup being so great. It's kind of impossible for something to like rise and then keep rising to the end. That's not how it works. So like, there's 2 movies, it goes up, and then it concludes. That's how it's gonna work. That's why a lot of times when there's trilogies, people are like, number two's the best, number two's the best. Why? Because that's when you get the climax of the movie. But even when taken as a standalone film, this sequel proves to be a letdown. First of all, I don't agree with that. Second of all, why would you watch this by itself? That would be really weird. It's like watching Game of Thrones and someone sits down with you and it's like, who's that guy? And you're like, oh, the guy with the sword? That's Iron Man. And they're like, that is? And you're like, no, this is Game of Thrones. F off, I'm not telling you what happened. Watch it yourself. So thank you guys so much for watching. We'd love to hear what you thought of Louisa Moore's review of Avengers Endgame. To be fair, she's actually a fan of Marvel. We don't understand at all what this review is all about. It's really, really odd. And she did actually say more stuff, but we can't read every word, otherwise you're gonna be sitting here with an hour for us. And I ain't that cute. But if you do wanna hang out with us a little longer, you can certainly find our Twitch channel where we live stream actually filming this show. And so you can see all the stuff that gets cut out, and you can actually help us make jokes as well. So you can find a link in the description of that. Make sure you subscribe before you head off. You can even click on one of the videos on the screen and check out another one right away. And until we see you next time, geek out and game on.